Who's that?
Oh my God!
Out of my way!
Can't let you in. Fire department's orders.
Is Grey's Anatomy coming back for season 23? The short answer, not officially yet, but all signs point to yes. The long-running ABC medical drama, created by Shonda Rhimes, is currently airing season 22 and continues to be a powerhouse both on broadcast and streaming. While ratings in the key 18 to 49 demographic have dipped slightly, the show's overall viewership has increased, averaging over 2.2 million viewers per episode. Even more impressive? According to Nielsen, Grey's Anatomy is the second most streamed show of 2025, pulling in a massive 40.9 billion minutes watched across Hulu and Netflix. The series also recently hit its 450th episode milestone, a major achievement that strengthens its renewal chances. However, reports suggest that if season 23 happens, it could come with budget cuts, potentially affecting episode count and cast contracts. Fan favorites like Ellen Pompeo, Chandra Wilson, and James Pickens Jr. are expected to return, barring any major changes. Showrunner Meg Marinis has also expressed her desire to keep the series going as long as possible. If renewed, season 23 would likely premiere in fall 2026 on ABC. For now, fans will have to wait for an official announcement this spring, but with streaming numbers like these, Sloan Memorial isn't closing its doors anytime soon. Hey, lovely viewers, welcome to our channel Grey's Anatomy Official. Is Grey's Anatomy returning for season 23? Grey's Anatomy is one of TV's longest-running programs, with 22 seasons, and counting, on ABC. Since its very beginning, the primetime medical drama has focused on the surgeons, residents, and interns at Seattle's premier teaching hospital, Sloan Memorial, formerly Seattle Grace and Seattle Grace Mercy West. For now, the action continues, with the series currently anchoring the network's Thursday night lineup. Increasingly, however, some fans have begun to wonder whether the Shonda Rhimes-created series is nearing its endgame, and this year is no exception. So is Grey's Anatomy returning for season 23 after the current run ends? Here's what we know so far. Is Grey's Anatomy renewed for season 23? Not yet. However, fans can expect news of the series' future to come in the spring, as renewals and cancellations are usually announced at that time. Though Grey's Anatomy's ratings have slightly dropped since season 21, averaging a 0.19 rating in the key demographic, down from 0.22, it has also slightly increased in viewership, averaging 2.213 million viewers per episode, up from 2.2 million. And remains one of the most streamed series in all of television, with 40.9 billion minutes watched in 2025 across the platforms. Plus, showrunner Meg Marinis has indicated a willingness to stick around long after season 22, telling The Hollywood Reporter last May, "I hope to be here as long as they'll have me. I love this show. I love working for Shonda. It's home. I'm in it to win it, so let's see how long they can keep us going. I'm here." A new report from Deadline indicates that the chances of renewal are strong, although it may come with budget cuts that may affect the number of episodes and cast. Who will star in Grey's Anatomy season 23? Barring any major changes to the cast of Grey's Anatomy due to the reported budget cuts ahead, fans can likely expect the series' regulars to return. This includes the series originals, Ellen Pompeo as Meredith Grey, Chandra Wilson as Miranda Bailey, and James Pickens Jr. as Richard Webber, along with longtimers Kevin McKidd as Owen Hunt, Kim Raver as Teddy Altman, Camilla Luddington as Joe Wilson, Chris Carmack as Atticus Lincoln, Katerina Scorsone as Amelia Shepard, and Anthony Hill as Winston Dugu, and the newer additions like Alexis Floyd as Simone Griffith, Harry Shum Jr. as Benson Blue Aquan, Adelaide Kane as Jules Millen, and Trevor Jackson as Wes Bryant. When will Grey's Anatomy season 23 premiere? Though an exact premiere date has not yet been announced, if and when Grey's Anatomy returns for season 23, it will likely be in the fall of 2026, typically in September or October. Grey's Anatomy, season 23, premiere date TBD, fall 2026. Grey's Anatomy, Season 23 possible renewal status. There's good news and bad news. Grey's Anatomy is currently airing its 22nd season on ABC, and fans can rest assured, it looks good for a Season 23 renewal. Deadline is reporting the scoop, which comes with some not-so-great news as well. They're reporting that the show is facing budget considerations. And while the budget conversation clearly indicates that the series will return for a 23rd season, it also signals that there could. Grey's Anatomy corners ABC into renewing it for season 23. An impressive new feat leaves ABC no choice but to renew Grey's Anatomy for season 23. Shonda Rhimes' legacy medical series has had so many eras in over 2 decades that it has been on the air. In the 2025 to 2026 TV cycle, it crossed a major milestone, hitting its 450th episode with We Built This City. As it looks forward to its next landmark, ABC is on the cusp of deciding what's next for the series. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 has been busy for the people at Sloan with all sorts of storylines, including the death of Beltran, the return of Jackson, and major medical news for Richard. Most recently, Strip That Down brought back Addison Montgomery, who dropped a shocking update about her marriage to Jake. As Grey's Anatomy Season 22 prepares for its final stretch of episodes, people are starting to consider what lies beyond this cycle for the Seattle-based hospital. Grey's Anatomy is the second most streamed title of 2025. Being on the air for over 2 decades is an incredible feat, especially considering how competitive the industry has become in the last few years. Admittedly, Grey's Anatomy is not topping linear ratings anymore the same way it did 10 years ago, although it's worth noting that it's still popular in the 18 to 49 demo. Still, networks have cancelled shows for lesser reasons, which makes it difficult to be complacent about Grey's Anatomy's future. That said, the defining factor for ABC's decision will likely be the medical drama's largely underappreciated appeal on streaming. Per Nielsen, via THR, Grey's Anatomy is the second most streamed title of 2025. Rhimes procedural can be streamed on both Hulu and Netflix, posting 40.92 billion minutes streamed throughout last year. Bluey topped the list, with 45.20 billion minutes watched. With those monster numbers, coupled with its decent showing during traditional broadcasts, it makes it difficult for ABC to just pull the plug on Grey's Anatomy. Granted that it's dealing with budgetary concerns, exacerbated by the expensive contracts of longtime cast members, the show has arguably found a way to deal with it more effectively this year, which included writing a narrative justification for Amelia's sabbatical. Why ABC needs Grey's Anatomy in their programming. An impressive new feat leaves ABC no choice but to renew Grey's Anatomy for season 23. Shonda Rhimes' legacy medical series has had so many eras in over 2 decades that it has been on the air. In the 2025 to 2026 TV cycle, it crossed a major milestone, hitting its 450th episode with We Built This City. As it looks forward to its next landmark, ABC is on the cusp of deciding what's next for the series. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 has been busy for the people at Sloan with all sorts of storylines, including the death of Beltran, the return of Jackson, and major medical news for Richard. Most recently, Strip That Down brought back Addison Montgomery, who dropped a shocking update about her marriage to Jake. As Grey's Anatomy Season 22 prepares for its final stretch of episodes, people are starting to consider what lies beyond this cycle for the Seattle-based hospital. Grey's Anatomy is the second most streamed title of 2025. The characters of Grey's Anatomy scrubbed up in an operating room. Being on the air for over 2 decades is an incredible feat, especially considering how competitive the industry has become in the last few years. Admittedly, Grey's Anatomy is not topping linear ratings anymore the same way it did 10 years ago, although it's worth noting that it's still popular in the 18 to 49 demo. Still, networks have cancelled shows for lesser reasons, which makes it difficult to be complacent about Grey's Anatomy's future. That said, the defining factor for ABC's decision will likely be the medical drama's largely underappreciated appeal on streaming. Per Nielsen, via THR, Grey's Anatomy is the second most streamed title of 2025. Rhimes procedural can be streamed on both Hulu and Netflix, posting 40.92 billion minutes streamed throughout last year. Bluey topped the list, with 45.20 billion minutes watched. Bailey on Grey's Anatomy. Related. Why there's no new Grey's Anatomy tonight, February 5th, and when Season 22, Episode 11 releases. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 is once again taking a break not long after it returned in 2026. Luckily, ABC has already confirmed its return. 1. By Ana Dumarog. February 5th, 2026. With those monster numbers, coupled with its decent showing during traditional broadcasts, it makes it difficult for ABC to just pull the plug on Grey's Anatomy. Granted that it's dealing with budgetary concerns, exacerbated by the expensive contracts of longtime cast members, the show has arguably found a way to deal with it more effectively this year, which included writing a narrative justification for Amelia's sabbatical. Why ABC needs Grey's Anatomy in their programming. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 Episode 10 Trailer. Play video. 0:30. Grey's Anatomy has had so many different eras during its time on the air. Ellen Pompeo's Meredith, who is the face of the show, is no longer a regular presence on the show, although she remains a player in it. Frankly, Rhimes could opt to end Grey's Anatomy anytime now, considering the rich history that it has already built in the last 2 decades. More than the producer and the show, it's actually ABC that needs it for their programming more. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 release schedule. When is episode 11 out to watch? The medical drama is finally back on our screens. B. Fans of Grey's Anatomy are still in limbo as they wait for new episodes to land, but things are set to be that bit more bittersweet as viewers continue to mourn the death of former star Eric Dane. Although McSteamy made his heartbreaking exit from the series some time ago now, his presence and impact on Grey's Anatomy is what made it such a hit with fans in those early seasons. Nevertheless, new episodes of Grey's Anatomy are still set to head our way, just a bit delayed as the Winter Olympics continue to air on ABC, where the show airs in the US, meaning that it's bumped everything in the schedules. While some fans may have just gotten back into the swing of things after Grey's took its usual mid-season hiatus, they'll just have to wait a little while longer until the 11th episode is on our screens as programming is set to resume on February 26 in the US. The first installment of the season saw Dr. Joe Wilson, Camilla Luddington, face a life-threatening health crisis, following the dramatic death of Dr. Monica Beltran, Natalie Morales. With Dr. Wilson left struggling with complications from her twin pregnancy at the end of the last episode, viewers are eager to see the cliffhanger resolved and see which cast members will return. But just when will Grey's Anatomy be making its return? Read on for the full Season 22 release schedule. When is Grey's Anatomy Season 22 Episode 11 coming out? Grey's Anatomy has now gone on another brief hiatus, meaning that usual programming won't resume in the US now until Thursday, February 26. That means that for UK viewers, we can expect Grey's Anatomy Season 22 to return with Episode 11, if you want it, do it yourself, on Friday, February 27, 2026 on Disney+, obviously following its usual pattern of being released one day after the US release on ABC and Hulu. How many episodes of Season 22 are there? There is a total of 18 episodes in Season 22. Given that the first 6 episodes have packed in so much already, we can expect a whole lot more drama to come. Only the Strong survive. October 10, 2025, after the catastrophic hospital explosion, Grey Sloan staff scrambles to save not only their patients' lives but also their own. Confronted with impossible surgical decisions and emotional turmoil, they fight to preserve life amid devastation. We Built This City. October 17, 2025, the team at Grey Sloan navigates a chaotic first day of surgical rotations amid hospital renovations. Meanwhile, Meredith spends time with Amelia. Between Two Lungs. October 24, 2025, a high-risk lung transplant pushes the surgical team to their limits. Meanwhile, Bailey juggles a trauma patient whose treatment hangs in the balance. Goodbye, Horses. October 31, 2025, the interns juggle a bizarre trauma, while a complex breast reconstruction forces Meredith into a tense partnership. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. November 7, 2025, Joe navigates a challenging case with a pregnant mother, while Blue and Jules care for a diabetic patient. Meanwhile, Simone treats a patient with a surprising revelation. When I Crash. November 14, 2025, Grey Sloan takes in patients following a catastrophic bus accident. Teddy and Owen have an awkward encounter, and Richard tests Bailey's patience. Skyfall. January 8, 2026, Winston and Ben fight to save Joe's life, while Teddy supports Link. Owen and Jules battle to save a young man, and Lucas forms an unexpected bond with a patient. Heavy on Me. January 15, 2026, Bailey and Owen join forces to save a tumor patient, while Richard faces an internal battle. Meanwhile, Jules struggles with her feelings for Winston. Fortunate Son, January 22, 2026, Meredith and Nick are visited by Nick's estranged sister. Strip That Down, January 29, 2026, Addison Montgomery returns to Grey Sloan. Grey's Anatomy Season 22 release schedule, when do new episodes land on Disney+? Grey's Anatomy Season 22 will air on Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC and will be available to stream on Hulu. Episodes will land on Disney Plus the following day, so UK viewers won't have long to wait. Episode 8 is set to air on ABC on January 15th and will hit Disney Plus on the 16th. Grey's Anatomy is available to stream on Disney Plus. You can sign up to Disney Plus from £5.99 a month now. Grey's Anatomy, Season 22, Episode 11 Grey's Anatomy, If You Want It, Do-It-Yourself Plot Synopsis and Air Date. ABC's Grey's Anatomy, Season 22, Episode 11, If You Want It, Do-It-Yourself Plot Synopsis and Air Date have been released. Cast and crew. Grey's Anatomy stars Chandra Wilson, James Pickens Jr., Kevin McKidd, Jesse Williams, Katarina Scorsone, Camilla Luddington, Kelly McCreary, Giacomo Gianniotti, Kim Raver, Greg German, Jake Borelli, Chris Carmack, Debbie Allen, and Jason George. Grey's Anatomy was created and is executive produced by Shonda Rhimes, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Station 19. Betsy Beers, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Station 19, Mark Gordon, Saving Private Ryan, Krista Vernoff, Shameless, Debbie Allen, Zoe Clack and Meg Marinas are executive producers. Grey's Anatomy is produced by ABC Signature, which is a part of Disney Television Studios. Episode credits. Directors, executive producers, and guest cast listed for each episode are credited according to official network materials released ahead of broadcast. Guest appearances and creative assignments may vary by episode and are subject to change prior to air. Filmbook updates episode details as networks release new or revised information. Series plot synopsis. Grey's Anatomy's plot synopsis. Grey's Anatomy follows the lives of surgical interns, residents, and attendings at the fictional Grey Sloan Memorial Hospital, formerly Seattle Grace Hospital, Season 1-6, Seattle Grace Mercy West Hospital, Season 6-9, and then Grey Sloan Memorial Hospital, Season 9, present, as the interns gradually develop into seasoned doctors through the mentoring of their residents, attendings, and chiefs of surgery. Each installment typically begins with a voiceover narrative from Meredith Grey or a season regular, foreshadowing the theme of the episode. Each season tends to represent the physician's academic year, with each completed year qualifying the residents at a level higher in the surgical field. The season typically ends with a dramatic event such as a death or character departure. Most installments revolve around the doctors' everyday lives as surgeons, but the show also emphasizes their personal as well as their professional lives. Leave your thoughts on the Rookie TV show news below in the comments section. View here the Grey's Anatomy, Season 22, Episode 11, If You Want It, Do-It-Yourself trailer. Readers seeking to support this type of content can visit our Patreon page and become one of Filmbook's patrons. Readers seeking more Grey's Anatomy articles can visit our Grey's Anatomy page. Readers seeking more ABC articles can visit our ABC page, our ABC Twitter page, and our ABC Facebook page. Readers seeking more TV show news can visit our TV show news page, our TV show news Twitter page, and our TV show news Facebook page. This episode of Grey's Anatomy will air on ABC and then stream on Hulu. Want up-to-the-minute notifications? Filmbook staff members publish articles by email, mobile app, Google News, Apple News, Feedly, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, Reddit, Telegram, Mastodon, Flipboard, Blue Sky, and Threads. Grey's Anatomy is Season 22, Episode 10 recap, Amelia's return and Addison's crisis. The reunion leads to a heated confrontation and a shocking reveal. This story contains spoilers from A Grey's Anatomy, Season 22, Episode 10. Grey's Anatomy saw the return of two fan-favorite doctors in Thursday's new episode, and one of them is here to stay. Episode 10, titled Strip That Down, followed as the anticipated return of Dr. Addison Montgomery. Kate Walsh also made way for Dr. Amelia Shepard, Katarina Scorsone, to cut her sabbatical short to consult on a case with her former sister-in-law and Los Angeles colleague. Behind the scenes, the episode marked Scorsone's comeback after taking an 8-episode break from the series due to budget trims on the long-running ABC medical drama. Luckily, Addison's visit to Seattle brought a new patient Amelia couldn't refuse, despite her initial desire to blow her off for a cookie recipe she was trying out at home. But it wasn't all about happy reunions, as Addison had her own shocking reveal to share before the end of the eventful episode. I am a dumpster fire. Grey's Anatomy fans will recall that since her last visit to Gray's Sloan Memorial, Addison has been working as a mobile doctor helping women across the country get access to proper healthcare amid growing restrictions around abortion, birth control, and other essential treatments. In this season 22 appearance, Addison enlisted Amelia's help with treating a pregnant woman who needed a neurosurgery consult. A quick exam from Amelia had her rushing Jules, Adelaide Kane, to get scans of her brain, which revealed a dangerous tumor that was growing due to her pregnancy hormones. Amelia first tried to pass off the surgery to another doctor given her sabbatical, but Addison told her she had to help herself, and revealed that her husband Jake, played by Benjamin Bratt in the Grey's spin-off, Private Practice, was threatening to leave her. Addison avoided the topic after that, leading to raised tensions in the OR. After a complication rose during Amelia's procedure, Addison lost her composure, leading to Amelia kicking her out of the room. She was enraged when she first left the room, seeking solace from her old boss Richard, James Pickens Jr., who was home still recovering from a successful surgery for prostate cancer. He encouraged her to apologize and let the rest resolve itself from there. After saving the patient, Addison found Amelia and shared that she felt Jake's support wholeheartedly when her mobile health practice first kicked off. But as time passed he grew more frustrated at her absences, and the toll of a regressing healthcare field was taking a toll on both of their careers and their marriage. Amelia told her that the fact her marriage descended into an ultimatum meant they were already fundamentally broken, which doesn't bode well for their relationship's future. Addison admitted she felt like the dumpster fire, and Amelia joked she was glad it wasn't her this time, for once. By the end of the episode, after Addison tried Amelia's bad cookies, Amelia decided to make her official return to work. No more sabbatical for her. Meanwhile, outside of the Amelia/Addison saga, Jo, Camilla Luddington, was discharged from the hospital just in time for her twins to get the all-clear as well. And Link, Chris Carmack, finally returned to the OR to treat an injured male stripper, after months of recovery after injuries he sustained in the hospital's latest explosion. As for the residents, Blue, Harry Shum Jr., was the test subject of Owen's, Kevin McKidd, new ride-along training program and decided to go exclusive with Dr. Kavita Mohanty, Anita Kalathara. Simone, Alexis Floyd, helped treat the male stripper with her new intern Bo Wes, Trevor Jackson, and got a dance of her own by episode's end. And Lucas as Nico Taro faced delivering the difficult news that a clinical trial for one of Bailey's, Chandra Wilson, cancer patients was ending due to government funding cuts, leaving her fate unclear. Grey's Anatomy returns with new episodes February 26 on ABC and streams the next day on Hulu. Your official Grey's Anatomy recap, Season 22, Episode 9. Amateur surgery for a main character, multiple doctors working out some long-held family tensions, and a tiny bit of insurance fraud. This week's Grey's Anatomy has something for everyone, it seems. Let's dive into A Fortunate Son, which was directed by none other than our beloved Kim Raver, aka Dr. Teddy Altman. Weber Men Don't Cry. If you were worried that this whole Richard Weber has prostate cancer storyline was going to drag on for maximum rip your heart out potential, I'm here to report that this is not the case at all. In fact, after Richard made the decision to have a prostatectomy last week, thanks to the influence of Jamie Lynn Sigler's Dr. Kaplan, Grey's Anatomy is getting right down to it this week. It doesn't even seem like he's told anyone outside of Catherine and Bailey, and yet, after a quick shave at his local barbershop, Richard arrives at Gray's Sloan Memorial for his surgery. Catherine seems more stressed out about it than he does. She's replaced 3 of his nurses in just the past 30 minutes, but once Richard is under anesthesia and the surgery is underway, we learn that while he may not be overwhelmed by stress, he is overwhelmed by something else, guilt. Richard spends most of A Fortunate Son in an anesthesia-induced dream. He wakes up in an OR/barbershop, where first he runs into Curtis, a young man with stage 4 prostate cancer who Richard had met in reality back in pre-op. Curtis doesn't make it very long. But Richard isn't in this dream world for Curtis, although he does ask after him once he wakes up, but instead runs into someone he knows much more intimately, his own father. Mr. Weber himself is sitting in the next barbershop seat, and we quickly learn why he of all people would appear now. Richard's father died of prostate cancer. Up to this point, we haven't learned much about Richard's upbringing, but throughout this conversation, father and son talk about how Mr. Weber was stoic and slow to show his feelings and demanded the same of his son. When Richard's mother died, his father admonished him for getting upset and crying. Richard was only 10. But Weber men don't cry, which Mr. Weber repeats even now. Richard, apparently, was much too sensitive for his father's liking. This way of living, of never getting too close and definitely never sharing your feelings, wound up having some major consequences, and I'm not just talking about daddy issues to talk to your therapist about. When Mr. Weber got sick, he didn't talk to his son with the MD about it, and Richard may have noticed signs of symptoms, but he never wanted to broach a subject like that with his father. Richard, as he confesses here, has never gotten over the guilt of that. And now that he is going to survive the same disease that killed his father, all that guilt has come back to the surface, hence, the very realistic anesthesia dream. But it's in that dream, as Richard stands there watching his father die all over again, that he realizes he needs to let go of that guilt. When he wakes up post-op and learns from Catherine that he is now completely cancer-free, it means our Chief of Chiefs has been healed both physically and mentally. What a surgery, am I right? But hey, in other, much less emotionally draining news, Maggie is apparently having a boy. Has anyone told Winston yet? I just feel like someone should tell Winston. Guess who's coming to lunch? This week, we're taking a little field trip to Boston. Meredith and Nick's house remains stunning. I will never stop crossing my fingers in the hope of an Architectural Digest home tour one of these days, in character, of course. Like, did you see that chandelier? Sorry, I'll focus. But seriously, did you see it? We're in Boston to witness one of the most emotionally charged lunches I've seen in a while. Usually, drama over a meal is relegated to dinner, but not in the Graymarsh house. So, why is this lunch so dramatic? Nick's sister is coming to visit. Yes, the sister. The sister who has struggled with addiction for years and years. The sister who could not handle being a mother and left Nick to raise her daughter Charlotte when she was just 10 years old. The sister whom Nick hasn't spoken to in almost 8 years. So, yeah, drama is coming. Perhaps even more drama than we bargained for. When Nick opens the door to greet Erica, she's standing there with a car seat that holds her 6-week-old son, Miles. Charlotte had informed Nick that her mother was sober and working now, but Nick didn't know anything about a baby. It immediately throws the entire afternoon off. Nick is clearly frustrated. To him, this is simply more of the same from his sister. Meredith's response to Nick saying Erica always does this, have secret babies? Is hilarious even if Nick is too mad to appreciate it at the moment. Meredith attempts to be a buffer when they sit down to eat, but even as Erica informs her brother that she's 2 years sober, that she was with Miles' father for more than a year but the two split, and that she really enjoys her very stable job, all it does is make him angrier. Their conversation devolves into an argument. Nick will never see Erica as anything more than a mess. Can Erica really blame Nick for not believing she's changed? When she gets up to use the restroom and he informs her that, yes, he has locked up his medicine cabinet so she can't get into it, they reach a breaking point. Not long after, Nick and Meredith hear the door close. Erica has driven off in her car and left Miles behind. Nick knew it. He knew this would happen. He doesn't want to hear Meredith suggest that maybe Erica just needed to find a meeting or take a breath, she doesn't know her. Nick immediately gets up and says he needs to go to the store for diapers and formula since Miles is going to be here longer than his diaper bag might suggest. But of course, once he returns, he admits to Mare that he needed to clear his head. He is angry, sure, but mostly he's scared. He's scared because the last time this happened, Erica blew up his entire life. His career was going well, he had just bought a home, and he bought a ring to propose to his then-girlfriend Ashley. But he never got to propose. Ashley didn't want to take on a 10-year-old. Nick's entire life changed, and now he's terrified it will happen again. He loves his life with Meredith and the kids, and he doesn't want to lose it. But come on, Nick. This is Meredith Grey. She can see how upset he really is and assures him she isn't going anywhere. She doesn't scare that easily. They're in this together. 2 hours later, Erica is back. She needed to talk to her sponsor. And then, she fell asleep because she was tired, man. Finally, the siblings sit down and really talk this out. Erica has been feeling overwhelmed and alone, and one night Miles wouldn't stop screaming. She was driving him around to help soothe him and found herself pulling into the parking lot of a local bar. She knew if she walked in, it was game over. Instead, she started driving to Nick's house. She thought maybe her big brother could help her. That's exactly what he's going to do. He wants her and Miles to stay a while. This seems promising. And while it is heartwarming to see Nick and Erica begin to work out their decades-long issues, the most moving part comes later when Nick asks Meredith if she really would have raised Miles with him if it came to that. "Are you asking me if I want to have another baby?" She laughs because that is a hard no. But she meant what she said, "We're in this together." No offense to Seattle, but can we start spending more time in Boston? Sally is a bad influence, actually. Oh, Jules. She just can't win. Last week, in response to perhaps being too late in confessing her love to Winston and realizing that she, as Jules, might have a hard time letting people in, she took on an alter ego to get laid. Meet Sally. Sally eats pastries for breakfast and throws caution to the wind. When she and Lucas meet a young patient Mitch, Jules relies on Sally to help him out. Mitch, who not too long ago was burned by AI and lost his tech job, has been making a living by mashing up at least 3 jobs, waiting tables, coaching tennis, driving for a rideshare, and is having strange, tingling pain in his arm, making all his jobs pretty tough to do. Jules and Lucas have Winston in for a consult, and together they discover Mitch has a benign tumor in his brachial plexus. It's not growing fast, and it hasn't ruptured, so it isn't emergent, but still, they should start working on getting approval from Mitch's insurance now. And it could take several months to schedule. Mitch is upset. He doesn't think he'll be able to work much longer with the level of pain he's in, and he is already familiar with the bleak spiral that is trying to find a human to talk to about his situation at his insurance company. Jules and Lucas wish they could do more for him, knowing how unfair the system is and that even if Mitch is approved, insurance probably won't cover most of it, and it's still going to cost him much more than he can actually afford. Jules and Lucas can't help Mitch, but maybe Sally can? Jules has a Sally-inspired plan. And apparently, Sally-inspired means ethically murky, definitely fraudulent but done with the best of intentions. Jules tells Mitch to come back to the hospital later and tell them he is experiencing the exact symptoms one would have if that tumor were to rupture and make his situation emergent. They hit a snag in their plan when Simone intercepts Mitch and takes his case instead of letting Jules and Lucas handle it. Even when they fill her in on what's happening, she wants to help but admits she is a terrible liar. Also, she already called Winston down to see Mitch again. Jules was going to have a different doctor on the case. Instead, Winston starts noticing that Mitch's symptoms aren't adding up. While Simone's no help in moving this plan forward, Quan, who can immediately tell what Jules is up to, saves the day. It would be worse for Winston to dismiss Mitch's pain. They should operate. And Quan says he doesn't want to be involved in this. Sure, dude. The surgery goes just fine because of course it does, there was no rupture, no complications. This wasn't emergent. When it's all over, Winston wants to see Jules. He doesn't outright ask her if she told Mitch what to say, but he definitely knows. And Jules knows that he knows. When Jules keeps up the lie, he walks away so disappointed. If Jules believed her shot with Winston was almost non-existent before, her hopes are completely destroyed now. Sally was supposed to help our girl out, but instead she's only made life much more complicated for Jules. Money can't buy you plots. If you need a small reprieve from all the drama, look no further than Bailey being tasked by Richard to keep Catherine distracted all day. But in case you think Catherine is distraught over the thought of her husband going under the knife, it turns out she is more upset over discovering that, in Richard's will, he has it set up so he'll be buried in a plot next to Adele. Catherine does give a very heartfelt speech about believing that true love had passed her by until she met Richard. They met later in life and so have less time to spend together, but the thought of being together in death has brought her peace. It's a nice thought in theory, but come on, part of this is simply Catherine not being able to stand coming in second. Bailey tries to point out some rational things to her, like how maybe Richard just hasn't updated his will yet, or how this is something they should just talk about together, or how they'll both be dead, so who cares? When none of this does anything for Catherine, Bailey reminds her that she is rich as hell, can't she throw some money at this problem? So, Catherine does what any insanely wealthy person who is unhinged might do, she tries to buy out the person who has the plot on the other side of Richard's. Alas, it's tied to a family who have been burying people there for years, and it isn't for sale. Catherine comes up with the next best solution, she is going to be cremated and have her ashes spread all over Richard's grave. She'll be closer to him than Adele, and that is actually what brings her peace. Never change, Catherine Fox. Your official A Grey's Anatomy recap, Season 22, Episode 8. Last week's episode of Grey's Anatomy ended by assuring us all that Joe Wilson was going to be okay. We love a dramatic eye-opening from a hospital bed, but this week, she's still dealing with a complicated postpartum situation. She's not the only one facing some complex life moments, though. Heavy on me as sees Richard make a major decision about his prostate cancer treatment plan. Bailey and Owen team up to remove a 35-pound tumor from a woman's abdomen, and Jules ponders if she is too aloof. I guess that last thing isn't as dramatic as cancer treatment and giant tumors, but it is important nonetheless. Let's dig into this week's episode. Richard makes his choice. There's honestly nothing like one of our Grey Sloan docs emotionally declaring that they are a surgeon with verve and feeling, reminding us that's who they are in their bones. This is exactly what Richard Webber does by the end of Heavy on Me. Richard has been through so much, hasn't he? Remember when he had a brain tumor? Or when he got cobalt poisoning from a hip replacement? Or that time Meredith told him he's the reason her mom tried to kill herself and ruined their lives? So much. And now our chief of chiefs is left angsting over how he should treat his prostate cancer. Well, I guess it's more technically correct to say he's angsting over how Catherine thinks he should treat his prostate cancer. Richard's already made his decision with his doctor, they're going to wait and watch, he doesn't want any kind of risky surgery. What does Catherine want? Well, she's flown renowned urologist and urologic oncology superstar Dr. Laura Kaplan in from Boston to tell Richard to have the risky surgery. It is Catherine's way. Richard's initial meeting with Dr. Kaplan and Catherine ends with him storming out. Kaplan thinks he should do a radical prostatectomy and have the entire thing removed. Richard knows the risks of that surgery, and blood clots, stroke, and injury to the rectum are just 3 in a very long list. But when he runs into Kaplan doing work in the attending's lounge while she's waiting for Catherine's plane to take her back to Boston, Richard isn't angry with her. Both of them understand how Catherine works. Kaplan apologizes for not realizing Richard wasn't the one requesting a second opinion, and she also wonders if he could consult on a patient she's working on. It seems the two become fast friends. Eventually, Kaplan opens up to Richard about having multiple sclerosis. Getting that initial MS diagnosis was terrifying, she worried she wouldn't be able to operate anymore, and it was soul-crushing. But instead, she came to see her MS as not a career ender but as a career pivot. Her symptoms, like muscle pain and leg weakness, would make it nearly impossible for her to stand in or operate, so she simply found a different way to operate. Now, she mainly performs robotic procedures, she can sit, and she doesn't need to be able to hold a scalpel. I still get to do what I love, even if it is in a different way, she tells him. Her words cut to Richard's core. When he sees Kaplan leaving later, he tells her that he rejected her opinion out of fear. If he suffers complications from a radical prostatectomy, especially a rare but very scary-sounding urosymphyseal fistula, he too might never get to operate again. Kaplan reminds him that she can treat complications, but if the cancer progresses, Richard runs out of options. And that seals the deal. He finds Catherine to tell her he doesn't want to live in fear, and all this time, it was his fear that was making medical decisions for him. He's a surgeon, and he'd be devastated to lose that part of him, but whatever happens, people can adapt. He can adapt. He's getting the surgery. A little inspiration goes a long way. See? Sometimes a person simply needs a little push to do something scary but important. Sometimes a person simply needs a little inspiration. Inspiration, as it happens, is exactly what Owen is missing these days. After listening to Teddy and Winston talk about the innovative aorta surgery they pulled off with Nora on podcasts and the like, Owen is a tiny bit jealous. Teddy deserves all the press and accolades, of course, and he repeatedly wants to make sure everyone knows he's totally fine with all this, but more and more he's feeling like his own work is stalling. He's got a case of the bloss, okay? So, when Bailey and Simone present a patient with a 35-pound benign tumor compressing all the organs in her abdomen, Owen is the only doctor who backs them up. He thinks Bailey can remove this tumor, and he wants to help. It doesn't take long for Bailey to realize Owen's motivations for joining her team might not be totally altruistic, but they are mostly altruistic, and that's good enough. She needs as many brains on this case as possible. The patient, London, has attempted surgery before, but because of the pressure on her heart, she's wound up crashing on the table before doctors can remove even part of the tumor. It's Owen who brings up putting London on ECMO so that there would be no shot of her heart failing in surgery. Good for him. It's unconventional, and London's wife, Charlie, is hesitant, but London doesn't particularly feel like waiting around to suffocate to death. She wants to live. She wants the surgery. Bailey and Owen are joined by Winston, Simone, and Lucas in the OR, and while there is more than one moment when things look bleak for London, the team work flawlessly together and eventually remove that behemoth of a tumor. I hope Owen puts it in a jug and takes it home. London is saved, Bailey is relieved, and Owen is finally getting his medical mojo back. In fact, by the end of the episode, he asks Bailey what she would think about building some type of EMS training or ambulance ride-alongs for the residents so they can learn more about thinking on their feet and get additional trauma training. Bailey tells him to write up a proposal for her. Owen Hunt is inspired again. Meet Jules. Sally. Definitely Sally. Like Owen, Jules Millen is in a bit of a slump. Hers, though, is not of the medical variety but rather stems from her non-existent social life. Jules has always been slow to let others in, a trait that sometimes has consequences like the one we saw her face last week when she dashed over to Joe's to tell Winston that she's interested in him, only to find him having drinks with Nurse Iris. It seems everyone around her is busy with other people they've let into their lives, and for Jules, well, the cheese stands alone. Lucas may not be dating Katie yet, but the two are texting regularly, and he does seem to perk up every time he hears from her. Naturally, this bugs Simone, who admonishes him for an inappropriate relationship with a patient, which is hilarious because she is currently and enthusiastically boinking an intern. Eventually, Simone realizes what Lucas is up to is none of her business, and the two manage to have a friendly conversation about getting Katie movie recs while she's laid up. Are these two healing? I will forever be holding out hope that they once again find their way to an on-call room, but for now, this is nice. Quan too seems to have mended whatever he may have messed up last week with Mohunty. Those two and their booty calls are going strong. Good for him. But Quan's not so swept up in his new situationship that he doesn't notice things are off with Jules. Remember when those two were in love with each other? It seems Quan is still a softie when it comes to Jules. Not only does he give up the race for a thrombectomy so that Jules has something to look forward to, but later he notices Jules staring longingly at Winston and realizes what her real problem is. It's Quan who tells her that Nurse Iris is merely a stop sign, not a roadblock, when it comes to her obvious feelings for Winston. He doesn't want her to give up. I do love when Quan is this sweet, but it is also deeply unsettling. Watching all her friends and her big-time crush enjoy their time with other people has Jules feeling down, and it certainly doesn't help when she once again gets saddled with a patient who comes in with some sort of relationship bent to their backstory. She always has to deal with the people who are incredibly in love. It's the universe just repeatedly hitting her over the head. When Jules meets Janet and her husband, Hal, who enjoy role-playing as doctor and patient, until Janet arrived at the hospital with a DVT and a need for an emergency thrombectomy. She's mostly confused about why they would need to pretend to be other people to be interested in the person they supposedly love. Jules is very judgy. But wouldn't you know it? At the end of a long day and another interaction with Winston in which they both clearly want to smash their faces into each other until Iris shows up, no shade, she seems nice, Jules is approached by a cute guy at Joe's, and instead of pushing him away, she invites him to sit down and introduces herself as Sally. Maybe role-playing to liven things up isn't so bad after all. Thanks for watching this videos. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.